Captain Park Ji-won stood on the bridge of the exploration ship, New Seoul, watching the stars. He had been in space for 3 months, searching for new worlds humans could call home. The ship moved quietly through the dark between stars. His crew of 50 people worked together like a family. "Captain, we have something strange on our sensors," said Lieutenant Kim Do-yeon from his station. The young engineer always spoke with excitement when he found something new. "There is a ship out there. It is huge, much bigger than anything we have ever built." Park Ji-won walked to the sensor station and looked at the readings. The ship was 10 times larger than New Seoul. It had smooth curved lines and glowed with blue light. "Can we talk to them?" he asked. "I think so, sir. They are sending us signals on many different frequencies. Our computer is trying to understand their language." The captain thought carefully. This was the moment humans had dreamed about for years. First contact with aliens. Send them a basic greeting. Tell them we come in peace. Minutes passed slowly. Then the main screen flickered to life. A creature appeared that made several crew members step backward. It looked like a giant lizard standing on 2 legs. Its scales were dark green, and its eyes were yellow. Sharp teeth filled its mouth when it spoke. "I am Legate Thexmore of the Galactic Empire," the creature said in perfect human language. "You are the species called humans. We have been watching your kind for some time." Captain Park bowed his head slightly. "I am Captain Park Ji-won of the Terran Colonial Alliance. We are honored to meet you." The alien laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Honor. Yes, you should feel honored. The Empire has decided to make contact with your primitive species. You will submit to Imperial rule immediately." The bridge became very quiet. Park Ji-won felt his heart beat faster but kept his voice calm. "Submit, sir. I think there has been some misunderstanding. We wish to be friends and trade with your people." "There is no misunderstanding, human," Thexmore said with anger in his voice. "The Empire rules 847 species across 50,000 star systems. We have done this for 3,000 years. You are new to space. You are weak. You will obey." Lieutenant Kim Do-yeon whispered to his captain. "Sir, should I call Earth?" Park nodded. "Open a channel to Admiral Kang Min-ho immediately." Back on Earth, Admiral Kang Min-ho was in his office when the emergency call came. He was a strong man in his 50s who had spent his whole life protecting humanity. His assistant rushed in looking worried. "Admiral, we have first contact. Captain Park needs to speak with you right now." Kang Min-ho stood up quickly. "Put him through." The wall screen showed Captain Park on his bridge, with the alien still visible on the main display behind him. "Admiral, this is Legate Thexmore of something called the Galactic Empire. He says we must surrender all our colonies to them." Admiral Kang studied the alien's face. He had seen that look before in human bullies and tyrants. "Can the alien hear me, Captain?" "Yes, sir." Kang Min-ho looked directly at Thexmore. "I am Admiral Kang Min-ho, commander of all human military forces. What exactly are you demanding?" "Simple, human," Thexmore replied. "Your species will abandon all colonies outside your home system. You will allow Imperial forces to occupy your worlds. You will pay tribute to the Empire. You will follow all Imperial laws. This is not a request. This is an order." The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. Behind him, Captain Park could see other human officers gathering. News of first contact was spreading quickly through Earth's command center. "And if we refuse," Admiral Kang asked, "then you will be pacified. The Empire has done this many times before. Some species choose to submit peacefully. Others require force. The choice is yours." At that moment, Ambassador Lee Suna entered the command center. She was humanity's best diplomat. She had prevented 3 wars between human colonies through careful negotiation. She looked at the screen and immediately understood the situation. "May I speak, Admiral?" she asked quietly. Kang Minho nodded. "This is Ambassador Lee Suna, our chief diplomatic officer." Lee Suna stepped forward and looked directly at the alien. Her voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. "Legate Thexmore. Humanity appreciates this contact with your empire. However, we must respectfully decline your demands." "You refuse?" Thexmore asked with surprise. "We are a peaceful species," Lee Suna continued. "We have never attacked anyone who did not attack. U.S. first. We prefer to solve problems with words, not weapons. But do not mistake our desire for peace as weakness." The alien's eyes narrowed. "You threaten the Empire." "No," Ambassador Lee said firmly. "We warn you. Humanity has survived ice ages and plagues and wars on our home world. We have fought our way from caves to the stars. We are still here because we never give up when pushed into a corner." She paused and looked directly into the alien's yellow eyes. "Do not push us." Thexmore laughed again, but this time it sounded less confident. "Your entire species has existed in space for less than 200 years. The Empire has conquered civilizations 1,000 times older than you." "Perhaps," said Admiral Kang Minho, stepping back into view. "But those civilizations are no longer free, are they? That should tell you something about the kind of people you are dealing with." "You have one solar cycle to reconsider," Thexmore said. "Submit or face the consequences." The screen went dark. The bridge of New Seoul was silent for several seconds. "Captain Park, return to Earth immediately," Admiral Kang ordered, "and send a message to all colonies. Tell them what just happened. Tell them to prepare." "Prepare for what, sir?" Park asked. Admiral Kang Minho looked tired suddenly. He had hoped humanity's first contact with aliens would be different. "Prepare for war, Captain." "I do not think they believed our warning." Ambassador Lee Suna stood beside the Admiral. "We gave them a chance," she said quietly. "We told them who we are. What we become when pushed too far." "Yes," the Admiral replied. "Now we wait and see if they are smart enough to listen." On the bridge of his Imperial warship, Legate Thexmore reported to his superiors. "The humans refused to submit. They actually threatened us." His commander's image appeared on screen. "Threatened you? These primitives who barely have warp drive?" "Yes, sir." "They seem to think they can resist the Empire. Foolish. Begin Phase 2 of the pacification protocol. Show them what happens to species who defy Imperial authority." "Yes, sir," Thexmore replied. But as he gave the orders, he remembered the human ambassador's eyes. There had been something there he had not expected. Not fear, but determination. The kind of look a cornered animal gets before it fights. He pushed the thought away. The Empire had never lost a war. 3 weeks passed after the first contact. Admiral Kang Minho sat in his office on Earth reading reports from across human space. The news was not good. Imperial ships had appeared at 5 different human colonies. They were not attacking yet, but they were making their presence known. "Sir, we have another report from New Bizon Colony," said his aide, Lieutenant Commander Han Seok-jin. The young officer looked worried as he handed over the datapad. Admiral Kang, read quickly. "They stopped 3 more trading ships this week, demanded to search the cargo. Took 20% of the goods as what they call inspection fees. The colonists are getting angry, sir. They worked hard to build those farms. Now aliens are stealing their food." The Admiral stood and walked to the large window that showed Earth's blue oceans. "It is not stealing, Han. It is testing. They want to see how we react to small provocations before they try bigger ones." At that moment, Dr. Yoon Minji entered the office. She was the head of the new Alien Technology Research Division. In her hand she carried a small device that glowed with soft blue light. "Admiral, I have something you need to see," she said with excitement. "We managed to scan one of their ships when it was close to New Seoul Colony. Their shields work differently than we thought. She activated the device, and a hologram appeared showing the structure of Imperial ship defenses. Look here. They use overlapping energy fields that are very strong against direct attacks, but there are gaps. Small spaces where the fields do not cover completely. Admiral Kang studied the image carefully. How small are these gaps? Small. Enough that they probably never worried about them before. Most weapons in space are big and powerful. These gaps would not matter against typical attacks. But our weapons are not typical, the Admiral said with a slight smile. Good work, Doctor. Keep studying their technology. We need every advantage we can find. Meanwhile, on the agricultural world of New Bizan farmer, Yemen was meeting with other colonists in the main settlement. The Imperial ship hung in the sky above them like a dark cloud. Everyone could see it when they looked up. They took another load of grain yesterday, said Farmer Yuhana angrily. My children will be hungry this winter because of those aliens. We should fight them, declared Mechanic Park Sunho. I can modify our mining equipment into weapons. We have explosive charges for clearing rocks. Yemen raised his hand for quiet. He had been a soldier on Earth before becoming a farmer. Fighting will get us all killed. But that does not mean we have to make things easy for them. What do you mean? Asked Yuhana. I mean we make them work for everything they take. We slow them down. We make mistakes when they give us orders. We act confused and scared while we learn their weaknesses. The next day, when Imperial soldiers came to collect tribute, Yemen met them at the storage buildings. The alien soldiers looked like the legate from the first contact, but were smaller and wore heavy armor. Where is the grain human? Demanded the squad leader in broken human language. Right here, honored ones. Yemen said, bowing low. But we have had problems with insects. Some of the grain might be contaminated. Would you like us to test it first? The alien soldiers looked annoyed. Just load it quickly. Of course, honored ones, but our loading machines are old. They break down often. It might take several hours. What should have been a 30-minute operation took 6 hours. The grain loading machine stopped working 4 times. Workers moved slowly and asked many questions. Several containers were accidentally dropped and had to be cleaned up. The Imperial soldiers grew more frustrated with each delay. By the end, they were shouting at the humans and threatening punishment. But they got their grain and left without realizing they had been tricked. That night, Yemen sent a coded message to Earth describing everything he had observed. The aliens carried energy weapons but also had backup projectile weapons. Their armor had joints that looked vulnerable. Most importantly, they seemed to rely heavily on their technology and became confused when things did not work as expected. Back on Earth, General Cho Hyun-woo was reading similar reports from all the occupied colonies. He commanded all human ground forces and was planning for the war everyone knew was coming. The pattern is clear, he told Admiral Kang. They are testing our responses, seeing if we will fight back or just accept their authority. What do you recommend, General? We let them think they are winning for now, but we prepare. I want weapons and equipment moved to every colony, hidden where they cannot find them. When the time comes, our people will be ready. Lieutenant Commander Han Seok-jin entered with urgent news. Sirs, we just received word from the mining colony New Dagu. 3 Imperial ships just arrived there. They are demanding the colonists abandon the mining operation. Admiral Kang felt his jaw tighten. New Dagu produced rare metals needed for human ship construction. Without those materials, they could not build new vessels to defend themselves. Send word to Governor Nam Jisoo on New Dagu. Tell her to comply with Imperial demands for now, but document everything. We need to know their procedures and protocols. Dr. Yoon Minji spoke up from her chair. Admiral, I think they are making a mistake focusing on our mining operations. How so, Doctor? They see our colonies as resources to be harvested. They do not understand that these places are our homes. The people there will fight harder to defend their families than the Empire expects. As if to prove her point, reports began arriving from across human space. On New Sol colony, teenagers had started following Imperial patrols and asking innocent questions that revealed troop numbers and equipment. On Farming World, new Incheon workers had begun having accidents near Imperial checkpoints that blocked roads and slowed transportation. None of these actions were violent, but they created constant problems for the occupying forces. The aliens had expected quick submission, followed by efficient resource extraction. Instead, they found stubborn resistance to every order and endless delays to every operation. Legate Vexmore was becoming frustrated with his troops' reports. How can these primitives be so difficult to control? He demanded during a conference call with his commanders. They claim to be following our orders, sir, reported Captain Vexhar from New Bizon. But everything takes much longer than it should. Their equipment breaks down constantly. Their workers are slow and ask many questions. Are they sabotaging our operations? Not exactly, sir. They are just being very inefficient. It is like they do not understand how to work properly. Vexmore did not realize he was seeing humanity's first lesson in asymmetric warfare. The humans were not ready for open battle yet. But they were already fighting in their own way. On Earth, Ambassador Lee Suna met with Admiral Kang one final time before the situation escalated further. They still do not understand us, she said sadly. They think we are just being stubborn. They have no idea what they have awakened. Perhaps it is better this way, the Admiral replied. When the real fighting starts, they will not be prepared for what humans can do when we stop holding back. Governor Nam Jisoo stood in her office on New Dagu Colony, watching the 3 Imperial warships hover above the main city. For 2 months, the aliens had been making increasingly harsh demands. First, they wanted the rare metals from the mines. Then they demanded food from the colonists. Now they wanted something much worse. Ma'am, the Imperial commander is calling again, said her assistant Yoon Ki-woo. The young man looked frightened. Everyone on New Daegu knew something terrible was about to happen. Nam Jisoo straightened her shoulders and activated the communication screen. The familiar reptilian face of Commander Zexter appeared. His yellow eyes gleamed with cold anger. Human. Female, you have had enough time to consider our final demand, the alien said. Will you evacuate all civilians from this world or not? Commander, I have told you before. This is our home. These people have families here. Children who were born on this soil. We cannot simply abandon everything we have built. Cannot or will not? Zexter asked with a dangerous edge to his voice. Governor. Nam looked out her window at the streets below. Children were playing in the parks while their parents worked in shops and offices. Old people sat on benches feeding birds. This was not just a mining operation. This was a community of 50,000 human beings. Will not, she said firmly. We will not abandon our home. The alien commander's expression grew darker. Then you have chosen death, human. The Empire has been patient with your species. We have given you many chances to submit peacefully. Your refusal to obey simple orders proves you are too primitive to be civilized. What do you mean? Nam Jisoo asked, though she feared she already knew. I mean, this colony will serve as an example to other human worlds. When we are finished here, every human in the galaxy will understand the price of defying Imperial authority. The screen went dark. Governor Nam quickly activated the colony's emergency broadcast system. Her voice reached every home and workplace on New Daegu. This is Governor Nam Jisoo speaking to all citizens. The Imperial forces have given us an ultimatum. They demand we evacuate our colony immediately. I have refused. This is our world, and we will not be driven from it. She paused, looking at the camera with calm determination. I know some of you are afraid. That is natural. But remember who we are. We are the children of Earth. We are the people who crossed. the dark between stars to build new homes for our families. We do not run from bullies. All citizens should move to the underground shelters immediately. This is not a drill. Take only essential supplies. Help your neighbors. Watch out for the elderly and children. We will get through this together. In the underground command center beneath the governor's building, Chief Engineer Bai Taeyong was making final preparations. He had been secretly modifying the colony's mining equipment for weeks following orders from Earth. "Sir, the defensive systems are ready," reported his assistant Lee Min-yuk. "The mining lasers have been converted to weapons. The explosives are positioned around key installations." "Good," Bai replied. "Remember, we are not trying to win a battle. We are trying to make them pay a price they do not expect. Every minute we hold out gives Earth more time to prepare." Above ground, the Imperial ships began their attack. Bright beams of energy struck the colony's power stations and communication centers. Buildings exploded in balls of fire and smoke. The aliens were not targeting military facilities because New Daegu had no military. They were destroying homes and schools and hospitals. In the underground shelter, grandmother Park Youngja held her grandson close as the ceiling shook from explosions. Above, "Why are they doing this, Grandma?" asked the boy, who was only 8 years old. "Because they are afraid of us, child," the old woman replied. "They see something in humans that scares them. So they try to break our spirit with cruelty." "Are we going to die, Grandma?" Park Youngja looked around the shelter at the faces of her neighbors. She saw fear but also determination. Parents comforting children, young people helping elderly, strangers sharing food and water. "No, child. They can destroy our buildings, but they cannot destroy what makes us human." The bombardment continued for 6 hours. When it finally stopped, Governor Nam Jisu emerged from the command bunker to survey the damage. The main city was mostly destroyed. Fires burned everywhere. The beautiful parks where children had played were now fields of ash and rubble. But the colony's communication system still worked. Chief Engineer Bai had hidden backup transmitters in the mine shafts deep underground. Governor Nam activated her personal recorder and began speaking. "This is Governor Nam Jisu of New Daegu Colony. Today the Galactic Empire showed the galaxy who they really are. They attacked a peaceful world full of families. They killed children and grandparents and teachers. They destroyed schools and hospitals and homes." She looked directly into the camera. Her face was dirty from smoke and dust, but her eyes burned with fierce determination. "They think this attack will break human spirit. They are wrong. Every human who sees this message will remember New Daegu. They will remember that we tried to live in peace. They will remember that we asked for nothing except to be left alone. To my fellow humans across the galaxy I say this. Remember us. Remember our children who died today. And when the time comes to fight back, remember that we showed them mercy. When they showed us none." The transmission ended. Governor Nam walked back toward the burning city to help with rescue operations. She did not know that her final message would become the most famous speech in human history. Earth Admiral Kang Minho watched the recording with tears in his eyes. Around the command center, grown soldiers wept openly. The attack on New Daegu had killed 50,000 innocent people, including thousands of children. "Sir, what are your orders?" asked General Cho Hyun-woo. His voice was tight with controlled rage. Admiral Kang stood up slowly. When he spoke, his voice was different, harder, colder. This was no longer the man who had tried to find peaceful solutions. "Activate Project Taigak immediately. All experimental weapons are now authorized for combat use. Send word to every human colony and ship in space." The Empire wanted to see what humans become when pushed too far. He looked around the room at his officers. Now they will learn why our ancestors conquered their own world before reaching for the stars. They crossed the line when they murdered our children. There will be no mercy. Ambassador Lee Suna entered the command center carrying official documents. Admiral, the Terran Colonial Alliance has just voted unanimously for war. Every human world supports total military action against the Empire. Good, Admiral Kang replied. Send a message to Legate Dexmore. Tell him we received his demonstration of Imperial power. Tell him we are ready to show him what human power looks like. In space around New Dagu, the Imperial fleet was celebrating their easy victory. Commander Zexther reported to his superiors that the human colony had been completely destroyed with minimal Imperial casualties. He did not know that hidden sensors throughout the system had recorded everything. Human intelligence had watched every Imperial ship movement. They had analyzed every weapon discharge. They had studied every tactical decision. The Empire had just taught humanity exactly how they fought. Now humanity would teach them how humans fought back. Admiral Shin Yunho stood on the bridge of the stealth ship Silent Thunder, watching 3 Imperial warships patrol near the Kepler system. His ship was invisible to their sensors, thanks to new technology developed in Project Agok. The aliens had no idea death was approaching them. All weapons ready, Admiral, reported his tactical officer Lieutenant Kang Soman. The new adaptive missiles are locked onto their targets. Remember the plan, Admiral Shin said quietly. We hit fast and disappear before they can respond. This is not about honor or glory. This is about making them afraid. 2 months had passed since the New Dagu massacre. In that time, humanity had changed completely. The peaceful species that once sought diplomacy was gone. In its place was something the galaxy had never seen before. The Silent Thunder fired 12 missiles that moved like living creatures through space. They changed direction unpredictably and split into smaller warheads when the Imperial ships tried to intercept them. Within minutes, all 3 enemy vessels were destroyed. Not a single human ship had been detected. Message sent, Admiral Shin said as his ship vanished into hyperspace. One more reminder that humans do not forgive. Across human space, similar attacks were happening every day. Imperial patrols would find their ships destroyed with no sign of the attackers. Supply convoys would vanish completely. Communication stations would explode from the inside as if sabotaged by ghosts. On the Imperial capital world, Vexmore was meeting with his commanders. The confident alien who had once demanded human submission now looked worried and angry. How are these primitives destroying our fleets? He demanded. We have lost over 200 ships in the past month. Our scouts report no major human battle groups. Sir, we think they are using some kind of new stealth technology, reported Admiral Kexver. Our sensors cannot detect them until they attack. By then it is too late. What about their tactics? Vexmore asked. Surely we can predict their strategies. That is the problem, sir. They have no consistent strategy. Sometimes they attack our military ships. Sometimes they target our supply lines. Sometimes they rescue prisoners from our detention centers. We cannot predict what they will do next. Meanwhile, on the captured world of New Sol Human Resistance, fighters were preparing their own surprise for the Imperial occupation force. Sergeant Major Lim Jungkook crouched in the ruins of what had once been a shopping center. Around him, 30 other fighters waited for his signal. Remember what Dr. Kang taught us about their psychology, he whispered to his team. These aliens fear chaos and unpredictability. They expect us to fight like their other enemies. We are going to give them something completely different. The Imperial garrison was housed in a fortress they thought was impregnable. Heavy walls surrounded the compound. Energy shields protected it from above. Automated weapons covered all approaches, but the humans did not attack the fortress. Instead, they attacked the Imperial soldiers' mines. At exactly midnight, loudspeakers hidden throughout the city began broadcasting recordings of human children singing lullabies. The peaceful songs echoed through empty streets where Imperial troops patrolled. The aliens found the music deeply disturbing. Turn off those sounds, ordered Captain Vexcan to his communication officer. "Sir, we cannot locate the source." The broadcasts seemed to be coming from everywhere. As the songs continued, strange things began happening around the fortress. Imperial soldiers on patrol would find messages written on walls in their own language. "Your children miss you," one message read. "When will you go home?" asked another. Food supplies would be found rearranged to spell out words. "Peace" appeared, spelled out in ration bars. "Y" was written using medical supplies. The psychological warfare was the creation of Dr. Kang, someone who had studied alien behavior patterns for months. She understood that the imperial species were used to predictable military conflicts. They were not prepared for warfare that targeted their emotions and fears. "The key is making them feel isolated and confused," she explained to Admiral Kang during a strategy meeting. "They rely on clear command structures and logical tactics. When we introduce chaos into their system, they do not know how to respond." Her methods were working beyond expectations. Imperial troops were requesting transfers away from human space. Some were reporting psychological stress and requesting medical leave. A few had even attempted to desert their posts. But the most devastating human weapon was not technology or psychology. It was adaptability. Colonel Song Yunhai demonstrated this during the battle for the Vega system. Her Marine unit was outnumbered 10-1 when they boarded an Imperial cruiser. Traditional tactics would have resulted in certain death. Instead, the humans did something no Imperial commander had ever seen. They split into tiny groups and moved through the ship like water, flowing around obstacles. When the aliens tried to corner them, the humans would disappear into maintenance shafts and air ducts. When Imperial forces gathered in large groups, humans would attack from unexpected directions. "Where are they?" shouted the Imperial ship commander as explosions rocked his vessel. "How can 50 humans be everywhere at once?" The answer was simple. Humans were better at chaos than aliens were at order. Every human Marine was trained to think independently and adapt to changing situations. They did not need constant communication with commanders. They did not follow rigid battle plans. Within 6 hours, Colonel Song's Marines had captured the entire Imperial cruiser. The alien crew surrendered rather than continue fighting an enemy they could not understand or predict. News of human victories spread throughout Imperial space faster than official reports. Species that had been conquered by the Empire centuries ago began to whisper about the humans who could not be defeated. On the trading world of Nexus Prime, alien merchants shared stories in quiet corners of bars and markets. "I heard the humans can become invisible," said one trader. "They attack like ghosts and vanish like smoke." "My cousin serves in the Imperial fleet," whispered another. "He says human ships appear from nowhere and destroy entire battle groups before disappearing again." The stories grew with each telling, but the core truth remained. Humanity was winning a war that the Empire had expected to end in days. Emperor Valdris himself finally took notice of the human conflict. From his throne room on the Imperial capital, he called for a meeting with his military leaders. "Explain to me how a species that has been in space for 2 centuries is destroying fleets that have conquered galaxies," he demanded. "Your Majesty, the humans fight unlike any enemy we have faced," replied High Admiral Vexmore. "They do not follow conventional military doctrine. They adapt their tactics constantly. They use psychological warfare we do not understand. Are you telling me the mighty Galactic Empire cannot defeat primitive humans?" "Your Majesty, I am telling you, these humans are not primitive. We made a grave error in judgment." Emperor Valdris was quiet for a long moment. The Empire had never faced a military disaster of this magnitude. Entire sectors were requesting additional reinforcements. Military recruitment was down as fewer species wanted to fight humans. Some member worlds were secretly negotiating separate peace treaties. "What do you recommend, High Admiral?" "We must either commit overwhelming force to crush them completely, or we must seek peace terms." Peace terms with humans. You suggest the Empire negotiate with the species we tried to subjugate. Your Majesty, I suggest we remember why we tried to subjugate them in the first place. We thought they were weak. We were wrong. As if to emphasize the point, alarms began sounding throughout the Imperial capital. Human ships had somehow penetrated the most heavily defended system in the galaxy and were attacking military installations. The war was no longer confined to human space. Humanity had brought the fight to the Empire's heart, and they were winning. Admiral Kyo Sung-min stood on the bridge of the human flagship New Earth, watching the Imperial capital system grow larger on the main screen. Behind him stretched the largest human fleet ever assembled. 300 ships filled with the determination of a species that had been pushed too far. Admiral, we are receiving surrender signals from 12 Imperial worlds in this sector, reported Communication Officer Lee Min-jae. They are requesting separate peace negotiations. Tell them to stand down their military forces and wait, Admiral Ko replied. We will deal with them after we finish business with the Empire. 18 months had passed since the new Daegu massacre. In that time, the mighty Galactic Empire had collapsed like a house built on sand. Human fleets roamed Imperial space freely. Dozens of member species had declared independence. The economy was in ruins and the military was demoralized. Emperor Valdris sat on his throne receiving reports of disaster after disaster. His once proud empire was falling apart, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. Your Majesty, the humans have reached the outer defense grid, reported his aide with fear in his voice. Our remaining fleets are requesting permission to surrender. Surrender, the Emperor said bitterly, the word that has become too familiar in recent months. High Admiral Vexmore entered the throne room looking tired and defeated. The proud alien who had once demanded human submission now seemed broken by months of military disasters. Your Majesty, the human fleet commander is requesting to speak with you directly, he said quietly. Do they demand our unconditional surrender? Emperor Valdris asked. No, Your Majesty. They are offering to negotiate. The Emperor was surprised. After everything the Empire had done to humanity, he expected them to demand complete destruction. Put them through. The main screen in the throne room activated, showing Admiral Ko Sung-min on his ship bridge. Behind him stood other human officers, including Ambassador Choi Hana. Emperor Valdris, I am Admiral Ko Sung-min of the Terran Colonial Alliance. This is Ambassador Choi Hana, our chief negotiator. Emperor Valdris studied the human faces on the screen. He had expected to see hatred and anger. Instead, he saw determination mixed with something that looked like sadness. Admiral, you have my empire at your mercy, the Emperor said. What are your terms? Ambassador Choi stepped forward. She was a woman in her 50s who had spent years trying to prevent this war through diplomacy. Your Majesty, our terms are simple. Complete recognition of human sovereignty over all our worlds and colonies. Reparations for the civilians killed at New Daegu, and establishment of humanity as an equal power in all galactic affairs. That is all, the Emperor asked with surprise. You do not demand my throne or the dissolution of the Empire. We are not conquerors, Your Majesty, Ambassador Choi replied. We never wanted this war. We tried to warn you what would happen if you pushed us. All we ever wanted was to be left alone to build our homes in peace. President Lee Min-jae appeared on the screen next to the ambassador. She was the leader of all human colonies and had guided humanity through the darkest days of the war. Emperor Valdris, she said calmly, humanity has learned much about galactic politics during this conflict. We know that other species have been watching to see if humans can be trusted with power. Today we show the galaxy who we really are. We offer you a choice, Ambassador Choi continued. You can accept our terms and help us build a new system, where all species are treated as equals. Or you can continue fighting and watch your empire destroy itself completely. Emperor Valdris looked at his advisors. They all nodded silently. The Empire had no choice left. "I accept your terms," he said formally. "The Galactic Empire recognizes human sovereignty and agrees to reparations for New Daegu." 3 months later, representatives from across the galaxy gathered on the human world of New Seoul for the Treaty of New Seoul. The great conference hall was filled with delegates from hundreds of species. Many had traveled great distances to witness this historic moment. Ambassador Choi Hanna stood at the podium addressing the assembled representatives. "Today we establish new principles for galactic civilization. No species shall be forced to submit to another. No world shall be conquered simply because it is smaller or younger. All peoples have the right to determine their own destiny." In the audience, species that had been enslaved by the Empire for centuries listened with hope in their hearts. The brutal system that had oppressed them for so long was finally ending. Emperor Valdris signed the treaty documents with hands that shook slightly. "I must ask, Ambassador," he said quietly, "how did your species develop such devastating military capabilities so quickly?" Ambassador Choi looked at him with something that might have been pity. "We did not develop anything new, Your Majesty. We simply used abilities humans have always possessed. The capacity to adapt, the willingness to protect our families, the determination to never surrender when fighting for what we believe in. Your empire ruled through fear and overwhelming force," she continued. "But you never learned how to fight. An enemy that refuses to be intimidated. You conquered species that fought like you do. We fight like humans do." Admiral Kang Minho was present for the treaty signing as humanity's senior military officer. When asked by reporters about the secret of human victory, he gave a simple answer: "There was no secret. We told them from the beginning not to push us. We warned them what would happen if they forced us to fight. They chose not to listen to our warning. They learned the hard way that humans do not make empty threats. We make promises." The treaty created the Galactic Council with humans holding equal representation alongside the Empire and other major powers. For the first time in galactic history, decisions would be made by consensus rather than conquest. Dr. Yoon Minji was appointed as humanity's chief scientific advisor to the new council. Her first proposal was a technology-sharing program that would benefit all species equally. "We have learned that cooperation produces better results than domination," she told the council members. "Humans succeeded because we adapted and worked together. Now we invite the galaxy to join us in building a better future." As the ceremonies concluded, Admiral Ko Sungmin stood on the observation deck of his flagship, watching ships from dozens of species departing New Seoul. For the first time in months, he felt truly peaceful. Colonel Song Yoonhai joined him at the window. "Admiral, what do you think will happen now?" "Now we prove that humans are better at building than we are at destroying," he replied. "The galaxy will be watching to see if we can live up to our promises of equality and cooperation. And if they test us again," Admiral Ko smiled slightly, "then they will learn the same lesson the Empire learned. Humans prefer peace, but we are very good at war when we have no choice." Years later, when historians studied the first war between humans and the Galactic Empire, they would identify the moment when everything changed. It was not a great battle or brilliant strategy. It was Ambassador Lee Suna's simple warning during first contact. "Do not push us." The Empire had pushed anyway. They discovered that humans meant exactly what they said. The galaxy learned that the newest species to reach the stars was also one of the most dangerous to cross. But more importantly, the galaxy learned that humans were honorable enemies and trustworthy allies. The species that could have destroyed the Empire chose instead to reform it. The warriors who had won every battle chose diplomacy over domination. Humanity had kept its promise. They were peaceful when possible and victorious when necessary. The galaxy would never underestimate them again.